Going into care has 3 stages, and each and every single person that goes into care will experience those 3 stages. And this DVD is made to try and help you young people to understand more about the care system and how it works. Going into care raises a lot of questions. You know, people will think, why am I going into care? People can go into care through no fault of their own. You know, it could be a tragic accident, could be, you know, not liking it where they are at the moment. It varies. Everybody has their own reason. I've been in care and I have my own reasons. But for people who think they're the only one out there who's actually in that current situation, don't worry about it, because you're not the only one. There are people who are possibly going to be in that situation, people who are already like yourself in that situation, and people like me who have been in that situation. Your social worker. Now that speaks for itself really. It helps you understand more about life, more about meetings, like your lack reviews, you know, more about what's expected of you, you know, what expected if you to go somewhere new, you know, basically make sure everything's okay and find out whether you are actually genuinely happy.
A social worker is somebody, it's usually employed by the local authority, which is Manchester City Council. Each council in each district will employ people to look after children who may well be struggling for whatever reason within their family. What we class a social worker for young people as is their corporate parent. The corporate parent means that they're employed by the district where that young person's from or that child's from, and yes, they've got the same role about bringing up children and keeping them safe and advocating for them and making sure all their needs are met, so we call them the corporate parent.
A social worker would deal with a variety of things. We deal with children and young families. It can be anything from pre-birth right up until 19, till they're leaving care. If there are any children with disabilities, it can be until 25. So there's a whole host of age range that we actually deal with, and it's all the different transitions in between.
Would I be able to see my mum and dad? Well, if it's possible, then yeah. If you want to, by all means. However, the situation does vary on, you know, your background, you know, what the circumstances are. If you don't want to see your mum and dad, and you just want to see other members of your family, say brothers, sisters, I'm sure your social worker could, you know, negotiate some sort of, you know, an arrangement for that to happen.
We always encourage children and young people to keep in contact with their families where it's safe for them to do so. There may be occasions when that's not possible if a child's adopted or something like that, but a child that's a looked after child is encouraged to keep those contacts with families, friends, people that are familiar to them.
At the end of the day, if you want to, they'll do everything they can to try and make that happen. I started off seeing my little brother once a fortnight, and it's been stayed like that for about 12 years, so I'm still seeing him. So yeah, it can work out. Many people going into care will think, where am I going to be living? Who knows? You don't know. Social worker doesn't know. Nobody knows until it's been decided.
You can either live in a residential, which is a big place with more than 10 people in it, or you either live in a foster family, which is just a regular foster family. You
won't go anywhere unless you agree to go.
Okay, if you was coming into the care system, social worker would look at what your needs are, where you need to live, how you need to stay in contact with your existing family, so your brothers and sisters, your mum and dad. They need to take everybody's needs into account, why they're going to look for a placement for you, what school you're going to go to, how are you going to get to that school, and they need to take into account what you're saying you want.
It's that simple. What's going to happen to your family? That's what many people tend to think. Nothing bad's going to happen to them. They may miss you, they may, not want you to go, but if you want to go, or you feel the need to go, then the only thing that's going to happen to your family is that they're going to be missing you, that's all. Your family is not going to hate you, they're not going to be upset with you, they're not going to be angry, they're not going to disown you from the family and just say, you no longer remember. They won't do that. Many children and young adults think about their own opinions and whether they will be taken into account. Of course they will, because if your opinion is not taken into account, the social worker could just say, yep, dump you in this place, and could just completely and utterly ignore what you say, whether you want to be there or not. So your opinions should be taken into account, and if they're not, then you need to basically do something about it, like phone the Children's Rights Service or the manager of the social worker.
Right, guess what we're having for tea?
Carrot soup!
Oh, I love carrot soup, Do you like it?
No, I don't.
Oh, I'm so glad. It means a lot to me, that.
Really?
So tell you something, not many people do it. I mean, I've had a couple of complaints, Some people have come round. It's really upset me, actually.
Well, I'm really glad that you're upset.
Because it's my favourite dish. I do think I make a mean carrot soup,
A child in the care system should be heard, should be answered, and anything they have to say should be taken into account. And if it can't be done, then they need to be given the reason why. But the social worker should care about what you have to say. They should be able to listen and take into account what you're saying and what you think your needs are.
I think it's essential, and it's part and parcel of the work that we do with children and young people, that their voice needs to be heard and their opinion needs to be taken into account with all the different changes of circumstances, people that they come into contact. Their opinion is really important to us, and it's important that it's listened to.
Many siblings of other brothers and sisters will think, will they still be together when they've been put in care? That isn't always the case. You can speak to your social worker and say, look, we may not be in the same, we may not be in the same house together, we may not be in the same family, but would you be able to help me still see them? A quite common question is, would I have a nice social worker? Who knows? You get what you're given, but if you don't like it, you are able to do something about it. You can speak to the social worker and say, look, I'm not exactly keen on you. I'm not warming up to you. I don't feel like I can talk to you. Would I be able to have somebody different? Can you help me find a different social worker?
The answers that we give to young people, children and young people, is truthful. It isn't always the things that they want to hear, particularly if they want to be able to stay out late or do things that are risk-taking. It may not always be the answer that they want to hear. So we will always be honest with them, but we don't always give them the answer that they want to hear.